Today we're going to create two hardbound books. What you see here are the materials that you'll be needing. First off, with paper, down here at the end, you'll need 5 sheets of Lenox drawing paper, which is approximately 22 by 30 inches in size. 2 sheets of matte acetate, which is that transparent material, and that is 25 by 40 inches in size. Some scrap cardboard, which isn't necessarily pictured here, but you can see in the background right there. Some wax thread, a needle. I prefer a curved needle, but if you cannot find one or don't have one, you can also use a straight one. Scissors, an X-Acto knife and blades, a bone folder or some other item that would be used to help you fold. What I have pictured here is a burnisher, so you would need something that isn't going to rip or tear the paper. You may try a letter opener, but that's a little bit more sharp. But I do prefer the bone folder for this. You also need an awl, which is that more pointy tool there. PVA or acid-free glue, neutral pH adhesive. You also need some kind of cup that you can put water in. Some brushes for your glue. You need as well some book board, which is the board that everything is resting on there. Book cloth, which is the brown sheet over here. A ruler. A pencil, which isn't pictured here, but something to help you measure and mark things. Decorative paper. A small sheet of rice paper, which is underneath the glue there, and some scrap mat board.
Hello, the first thing that we want to do here is cut up our book board. Your book board is approximately 20.5 inches by 15 inches, and we want to get 2 books out of this. So what we're going to do is make 2 different size books. One will be approximately 10 by 10 inches. The other one will be approximately 5 by 10 inches. So what we'll do is basically divide the book board in half this way, and then 5 inches here to have 10 inches down here. The way that I usually measure is by grabbing my ruler and my pencil. Grabbing my pencil here, and just making a small mark at the point where I want to divide it. So this board measures about 20 and 5/8 inches, and I just want to measure it, dividing it exactly in half, which comes out to be 10 and 5/16. So I'm going to put a mark here at 10 and 5/16. I'll put several marks in order to help me measure and line up my ruler. So probably like 3 or 4. So again, that's 10 and 5/16. Then I can take my ruler and line it up just against those small marks to make sure that I'm getting it straight. And then I will take my X-Acto blade and score it until I'm able to get all the way through the board. So you have to be kind of patient. Pull the ruler down, score it multiple times, keeping the ruler in the same spot so you can get a nice clean cut. This is pretty important because this is what will help to make your book square. So that will also sit on the shelf nicely. So this board is fairly strong, so it will take a little bit of time to get through. And there, I've got it. So now that you've seen how I've done this, you should be able to then make the measurement for the other side. So this is not going to be an equal division. It's going to be 5 inches in. So we make 1 smaller book and 1 larger book. So this will be at 5 inches. So it'll be 5 inches up here, 10 inches down here for the larger book. So again, just measure several marks like this, line up your ruler and score it multiple times like I had just.
So once you have your bookboard cut, this is what they'll end up looking like. You'll have one that has two sides that are exactly the same but larger, and those are going to be 10 by 10 and 5/16 inch. And the other one will be 5 by 10 and 5/16 inch. So you can see kind of what the book might look like in terms of size. These will be your two halves that will fold over like this and like this for the other.
So the next thing that you need to do is to measure and cut all of your paper for your individual sections that you will then turn into a book. What a section is a group of sheets of paper that you fold in half, which you can then turn into a bound book. Since we have these sheets of paper which are 22 by 30 inches, for the larger book we should be able to get 3 sheets of paper from one larger sheet for our book. So what you want to do is do the same type of measurement like you did with your bookboard. And with this, you don't need to worry about the length going this way. You just want to measure the height, which is the height of the book. The height of the book is 10 inches, but you want to go in just a little bit so you have a little bit of buffer area for it to sit on the shelf. So your pages should be 9 7/8 inch height. So I'm doing like before, putting just a little mark at 9 7/8 several times to make sure that I'm getting a straight line. And then I will take my X-Acto knife, line up my ruler against those marks, and cut. And there's the size of one sheet. These will then turn into sections. You're going to interweave them with your matte acetate, however. So each section will have 2 sheets of this and 2 sheets of matte acetate, and you'll have 3 sections total. So you'll use only 2 of these large sheets for this larger book that's cut into 3, and then also 2 of the matte acetate sheets. So I finished cutting my sheets for my larger book of just the white paper, and now I'm going to trim down the matte acetate as well. These sheets are a little bit larger, so you will have some extra, but it's just really a great surface to draw and paint onto, so I encourage you to try out just playing around with it on your own. So again, I'm going to measure like I did before. I'll measure the 9 7/8 from one end in. I think this end looks a little bit better. And again, make my marks. So 9 7/8. So I finished cutting my sheets for my larger book of just the white paper, and now I'm going to trim down the matte acetate as well. These sheets are a little bit larger, so you will have some extra, but it's just really a great surface to draw and paint onto, so I encourage you to try out just playing around with it on your own. So again, I'm going to measure like I did before. I'll measure the 9 7/8 from one end in. I think this end looks a little bit better. And again, make my marks. So 9 7/8. And you'll trim it down like we did with the previous sheets.